Hello everyone. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys some recent T.T.M returns that I got back. So the first one is postmarked from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. It took 8 days and the person signed 3 of 3, and that person would be former Bengal, former Penn State Nittany Lion, and former Oakland Raider, Mr. Chris Barr. Mr. Chris Barr, like I said, signed 3 of 3. There's one, there's two, and here's the third one. Now, Mr. Chris Barr was actually a 3-time All-American soccer player while he played at Penn State. He led the Nittany Lions in scoring in 1975. Also in 1975, he kicked 4 field goals of over 50 yards. He was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals in the second round of the 1976 draft. Like I said, he played 4 seasons for the Bengals, then 9 seasons for the Raiders, and he was actually the Raiders' all-time second leading scorer with 817 points. And I believe Sebastian Janikowski is first on that list. Also, Mr. Barr was a 2-time Super Bowl champion. He played in Super Bowl 15 and Super Bowl 18. For his career, Mr. Barr kicked 241 of 381 field goals, for a field goal percentage of 63.3%. His longest field goal was 55 yards in the NFL. Now, on extra points, he kicked 490 of 519 extra points. And this is Mr. Chris Barr. All right, the second one, I can barely read it, came from Greenville, South Carolina. Took 24 days, and the person signed 2 of 2 for me. And that person would be Mr. Heath Shuler. There's one. There's 2. Now, Mr. Heath Shuler played at the University of Tennessee. He nearly held all of the Tennessee passing records until one Mr. Peyton Manning came along and broke them all. He was the 1993 SEC Player of the Year, and he was runner-up to the Heisman, which was won by Mr. Charlie Ward in 1993. He was drafted in the first round of the 1994 NFL Draft by the Washington Redskins. Now, Mr. Shuler didn't have a very productive NFL career. He only started 18 games for the Redskins and then was traded to the Saints in 1997. And then he suffered a serious foot injury and wasn't able to play, and then he retired. So for career stats in the NFL, Mr. Shuler threw 15 TDs and 33 interceptions. He had 3,691 yards and a quarterback rating of 54.3. So he didn't set the world on fire in the NFL. But what is interesting, after his retirement, Mr. Shuler actually ran for Congress and became a representative for North Carolina's 11th Congressional District from 2007 to 2013. So when his career was over, Mr. Heath Shuler went into politics, and he served for 6 or 7 years. So this is Mr. Heath Shuler. I mean, he didn't have a great pro career, but he was a heck of a college player. And he, like I said, he went into politics after his playing career and did well. The third one comes from Greensboro, North Carolina. It took 10 days, and the person signed 2 of 2. And this person would be Richard the King Petty. I'll set Mr. Petty, the second one. Let's see. We'll put him right there in front of one of the bars. So, this guy is a legend, like the top of the card says. He raced from 1958 to 1992. He raced in a NASCAR Grand National and Winston Cup Series. He was the first driver, Mr. Petty, to win the NASCAR Cup Championship 7 times. He won a record 200 races. He won the Daytona 500 a record 7 times. He had over 700 top 10 finishes. He raced in 1,184 races over 35 years. Now, those of you guys that have kids, he was actually the voice of Strip Weathers in the Disney Pixar animated movie Cars. Now, we owned that movie when my son was young, and my son basically wore it out. He loved that movie. Matter of fact, we owned all 3 of them at one time. But since he's growing up, he doesn't. I think we actually got rid of the movie. We haven't watched it in years, but when my son was interested in it, that movie was on the TV constantly. He was playing it over and over and over. He loved it. And like I said, Mr. Petty was the voice of Strip Weathers. So that's all I have for today, folks. I want to thank Mr. Heath Shuler, Mr. Richard Petty, and Mr. Chris Barr for signing and returning those back to me. And I want to thank you guys for watching. So just remember, keep collecting, keep searching for those hidden gems, and keep having fun. Later.